Hello, everyone. It's your host, Seth the Program. With me today, I have my great friend, Super Saiyan Ryu. It's glad to have you back on the channel, man.
It's good to be back. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been way too long. So today, we're actually going to be talking about the Time Breakers and the effect they would have on Dragon Ball Super if they did show up, and a little bit of backstory about their powers and stuff. I've been wanting to talk about Time Breakers and Xenoverse again for a while.
Yeah, basically, the fact is, right before, or a long time before Dragon Ball Super, actually, we already had something called Dragon Ball Online. Now, this storyline was created by Akira Toriyama, and also the game was overviewed by him, character designs were done by him, and he was heavily involved, and he considered this to be his continuation to the end of Dragon Ball Z, which takes place after the tournament with Oob inside of it. And this actual game is where we had Towa and Mira introduced, as well as Timebreaker Bardock. So, I mean, in reality, these guys have been part of Akira Toriyama's grand plan and grand story way back when Dragon Ball Z ended. So, I mean, a lot of people do consider them to be canon even back then.
Yeah, and it also makes sense because we've never really explored the demon realm before, and it just seems logical that that would be something to explore later on, with demons obviously trying to escape and etc. like that. So one point I had is that also in the games, is that like the Time Breakers have also been shown, especially in Xenoverse. So do you think that it's possible that they'll show up in Dragon Ball Super if it was part of Toriyama's original plan, or do you think it's just going to be one of those video game only type of things?
Well, the thing with the Time Breakers is, again, we've seen them in Dragon Ball Online, which is arguably canon already.
Right.
And then you have them in many other media too. Like, we have them in Xenoverse, we have them in Dragon Ball Fusions, we have them prominently featured in Dragon Ball Heroes, which is one of the most popular media in Dragon Ball right now inside of Japan. So, I mean, they're coming out everywhere right now. Pretty much any modern game of Dragon Ball you see them in. So they're certainly high priority and extremely popular throughout the entire world really right now. And the fact that they already were considered, pseudo-canon even before Dragon Ball Super started, I'd say there's certainly a possibility that they could come into the actual anime of Dragon Ball Super. When it comes to them coming into the anime, whether or not they would introduce them a similar way to, Kale, kind of like a pseudo-Brawly, so like, an alternate version of them, so they can argue, oh, we didn't put a non-canon in, this is just a new thing. Or if they put the actual legitimate characters in, that's the real question in my mind. But I do think that there's a good chance we'll see them show up in some shape or form.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if Toriyama really wanted them in the story, it makes sense. And also, I think it'd be interesting to see Bardock come back like as an actual canon character, because Toriyama does like hinting at things earlier in a story and then like showing them later on, or like taking advantage of that. So, for example, like with Beerus sealing the Elder Kai, like he took advantage of that and etc. So I do see it being a thing. And we also saw Goku Black sort of doing the whole Time Breaker kind of ordeal. Actually, it's kind of like him hinting at it almost. And if anything, his time ring even looked like the Time Breaker symbol, which I thought was interesting. So that would honestly be a really cool introduction to the Time Breakers if they saw, say, Goku Black or something fucking with timelines and they got the idea to do it themselves.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. You could see maybe even Goku Black and Zamasu created alternate timelines that the Time Breakers decided to go in and mess with to take advantage of. Something like that. Some kind of tie-in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the universe without Goku and shit. If these Time Breakers did appear, how strong would they be compared to Dragon Ball Super?
That's
really complicated, I know, but
yeah. It depends on if they're going to scale them to the show for the lore, or if they're going to take them at face value with their best feats in the games. Yeah. I'm sure that you have a lot to say on that if you want to start off.
Feat-wise, these guys destroy timelines. Like, you thought Zeno's the only guy that can destroy a timeline in universes. These guys also obliterate timelines. Like, I believe Kid Buu, just by having some of Mira's powers in Xenoverse 2, or was it Xenoverse 1? He destroys an entire timeline just with a death ball or something. So you can see that these guys are massively powerful. And they also exist outside the concept of time completely. They exist without any form of time flow. They're completely outside of it. And we know that a lot of them can even tank all of history exploding and still be able to like survive and operate. So it is actually theorized that these characters are beyond 4th dimensional and actually hit 5th dimensional since they operate outside of that concept.
Yeah, so we got some really specific feats here, actually. If we look at Timebreaker Bardock, for example, while he was fighting Mira, the two of them went basically into a crack in between time and space, so they were in a place without time and space, and they could move around, fight, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That alone is amazing because it shows that you can move without any sort of time flow, so that's an extreme speed feat there.
Yeah, even though time is what allows you to move.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And basically, also during that battle, we see Bardock transforms not just Super Saiyan 1 or 2, but 3 throughout the course of that single battle. So, I mean, his growth rate is just insane, right?
Yeah,
and then,
maybe even on Goku Black.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. And he just basically continues to grow in power. He says that you shouldn't underestimate Saiyans because they just have, like, unlimited potential. I mean, it's just crazy in there. And then also, during that battle, it's even mentioned that history was disappearing just from the aftershocks of their battle.
Yeah, they were destroying all of history itself. So you thought Zeno destroying a timeline was impressive. No, these guys are destroying every fucking timeline by battling.
Exactly.
So
it's an insane feat. I mean, when you look at it, there's countless timelines, if not infinite timelines in Xenoverse. So that really is an insane feat.
Yeah, and also there's Demigra, who in one of the games was... We know that Demigra is basically like Super Saiyan God Goku-ish level, maybe Saiyan Beyond God, Super Saiyan 3 level, right? And Mira became so powerful that he was able to one-shot someone that was able to probably beat him by himself. So, and why don't you explain Demigra real quick as well?
Okay, Demigra is actually a very important piece to the puzzle here when you're trying to scale and figure out these characters' power.
Yeah.
Basically, Demigra, after absorbing Toki Toki, he gained control over all of time and all of space across all these different timelines.
Yeah, and in Xenoverse, there's not just like 4 time rings. There's like a fucking time vault of timelines.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, he's easily multiversal to multiversal plus, depending how many timelines you think are in there.
Yeah.
So, when he controls these, the thing is, not only does that happen, but he also has shown many other capabilities, such as mind controlling and possessing opponents across multiple timelines. He's been able to manipulate matter, absorb his opponents into himself, like he did with Toki Toki, to gain the power from him. He has all these different capabilities with his magic. His magic is actually described as beyond human comprehension. So, I mean, that just gives you a little notice there of the capabilities that he has. And yet, even just Saiyan Beyond Goku was stated to be unaffected by any of his magic.
Right. That was Xenoverse Goku, obviously, but...
And it's just insane to see that, because that means that God Ki of that level, because it was stated that was due to Goku becoming a god, God Ki of that level has resistance to all these different types of abilities. So, I mean, for people who say Dragon Ball has no hacks, look at Xenoverse, and you'll be dead wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Demigra was the same guy that after this guy was completely obliterated, dead, gone, his mere essence soloed Dragon Ball GT. Is his power seeped in, like his remaining power that he pooped out after he was dead, seeped into Dragon Ball GT and controlled all the villains to become so powerful they were dicking on Gogeta. So these guys were insane. So if you did see the Time Breakers coming into Super, when do you think it would happen?
I personally would think that they would probably show up after this arc, because the fact of the matter is, these characters, they really set up for their own arc. I mean, I wouldn't see them just showing up and then being destroyed within, you know, the end of this one arc. I would see them lasting at least for their own arc of, 25 episodes, if not for a good 50 episodes like Frieza did on Namek, right?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, there's so much, especially because, like, there's a bunch of Time Breakers they could use. There's also the possibility of Cell coming back. I think his name's Cell X or something. Yeah. Cell comes back as a Time Breaker. There's a whole squad of them. Mira can go Super Saiyan. He evolves. Bardock evolves. You'd have Bardock versus Mira. And then you'd also have Towa. And then there's also the possibility of, like, demon gods coming into play. So there's so much that can happen. I mean, we've also learned recently that there's the guy that can make demon gods like Demigra, and he just shits on Goku, Vegeta, and Beat and Heroes. and he could become even more stronger than that. So there's a lot of different characters in the demon realm we've yet to explore yet. So
if we want to go even further, we could touch on some even higher end feats for guys like the Gods of Destruction and stuff in Xenoverse, and just show just how strong they can get.
Yeah, go over it, sure.
So basically, during the Demigra battle, we see that Demigra actually at one point succeeds in destroying the entire time nest, which destroys and completely erases all timelines in existence.
Yeah, it destroys all of
And
history.
guess what happens when this happens? Beerus is at his castle, sleeping, not giving two shits. Same with Whis, just watching the whole thing. And then after the battle is over and everything's done, Whis just says, it wasn't that big of a deal, so we didn't bother to wake you up and get you to come over.
Even though all history was destroyed, everything was gone, Whis didn't even bother waking up Beerus because how boring it would have been for him to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys were like literally asleep while the entire multiverse was destroyed right on top of them. So, I mean, it just goes to show, like, an entire multiverse being erased is nothing to these guys in Xenoverse. And then it's even stated by the Supreme Kai of Time, if Beerus fights in the Time Vault, he'll erase the entire dimension of time. And Beerus is just like, so what? I just want to do it.
I just want to do it. And there's also, what is it? There's also the introduction of the Time Patrollers. I don't think we would get a beat in Super. I think that'd be dumb, honestly.
Yeah,
I think
that'd be kind of odd.
Yeah, I think it'll just be Time Patroller Trunks and Goku. Obviously, will have their little adventures, and I could see that happening. And it'd be an interesting way for Trunks to come back. Maybe, I don't know. It'd be really strange. I don't know if he'd go Super Saiyan Rage. That'd be cool. But anyways, guys, that's really all we have to talk about. We just wanted to theorize what would happen if the Time Breakers did show up in Super. I would orgasm because Timebreaker Bardock is awesome as fuck. And if he went Limit Breaker, oh my god. But anyways, guys, be sure to subscribe to Ryu. He's been around since like I first started my channel, actually, like since my first video. So be sure to subscribe to him. And other than that, till next time.